Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Roottreemania. Now, we didn't make a lot of progress in the last one. We looked up a lot of stuff. There wasn't a lot of concrete leads though, but there are some foundations there that I think will be helpful. Now, hoping to make a bit more progress in this episode, I did look up a couple of hints online. Just because I really felt like it had a bit of a dead end. Not to get answers, but more to get an idea of a better method to help me get to the answers. One of which was to, because as we know from the last episode, there are a lot of business trips that Guy Hudson took that often seem to result in affairs. There's also a lot of these New Year's balls and stuff. I'll deal with that later. I'm still not entirely sure how to get to those, but I think, because I was trying to work out a way to find out what was going on in other countries, because you can't just search for Brazil, but I think you can search for, say, Roottrees Brazil, and it makes sense because that'll be like a subsidiary in another country that he'd have been going to visit. So I think this might help shake some stuff loose. Roottree Brazil, sometimes erroneously referred to as Roottrees Brazil, okay with the Z, is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottree candy. It was developed as part of the Roottrees Everywhere. Now that's going to be something that we want to look up, I think. Roottrees Everywhere initiative in the beginning of '79. Unlike some of the other Roottrees Everywhere results, Roottrees Brazil seems to be a success. You do some rough translating and find a significant amount of information about it. Brazil was the only region in which caviar-flavoured 5-pieces were a hit. The primary reason that the factory still exists to this day is solely to create that flavour, which comes in its own standalone 5-piece bag with Portuguese writing. A small town named Alvalagos, near the municipality of São Bernardo do Campo, became the location chosen by the Roottree Candy Company after a newly elected local politician named Edson Soares. I don't know if that's Suarez or Soares. Apologies for mispronouncing that. Heard that they were planning a new factory and petitioned them early '79. So we know that Guy Hudson, I forget exactly what it said, but he either had a fight with or bribed some local politician in Brazil. I think it's probably this guy. So that's another name for us to have a little look around. The factory was controversial as the locals did not want it there. The Rootrees visited Brazil around Christmas and managed to break ground on the project. Since then, however, it has been operating relatively smoothly except for 2 incidents. The first was Incendio de Bordo in '82, and the second was an unsuccessful strike in 1995 that involved all of the factory workers being replaced. The factory was originally built and run by a small company called Nova Corporação de Doces Brazil, which literally translates to New Brazil Candy Corporation. No longer exists, not much info has ever existed about it, and the Rootrees now run Roottrees Brazil entirely. Okay, so first of all, let's look up this Roottrees Everywhere thing. Was an expansion in the late 70s, coincided with some other large changes at the company and had mixed success. As far as you can tell, the different companies related to it were all formed in a very different and sometimes haphazard way. There's minimal organised information about the history of the expansion itself online, but you can glean the following. Here we go. So these are going to be the other companies that we'll look up. Distributed globally to certain markets approved by Elias as early as the 40s, includes places like Canada, Mexico, Involved expansion to other major markets that were assessed to be ready for Roottree. This now approved by Elias, so that could be worth looking up because we know that, or we think that Elias had an affair as well, and I'm wondering whether these 2 countries might relate to Elias's stint. So we've got these 4 each new company. Okay, rather than go off on a slightly different tangent, then I want to go and have a look at this politician. Let's have a look at Edward. I'm going to say Suarez. It could be Soares. I don't know. Was a Brazilian politician. You find a dissertation published by a college student as part of their PhD in history. It focuses on the rise of democracy in Brazil. It seems up until '88, Brazil was run by the military, and the politics during that time were often a hotbed for corruption and nepotism. The paper tells of a few politicians at the time, including Edson Soares. Edson is a former mayor of Alvalagos, Brazil, so that's where the factory is. Before politics, he was a manager at an automotive manufacturing plant for a major American car company. He was put in charge of Alvalagos by the military government in '73. As mayor, he used his manufacturing background and knowledge of American business to establish new factories, distribution plants, and other business ventures in the area. This had two side effects. First, he became quite rich. Second, many locals were forcibly relocated. This did not make him a popular mayor. In what the paper speculates was a move to counteract this unpopularity, his wife Sonia, could be worth remembering, was discreetly put in charge of a television station called Teleredi. He often used this connection to ensure supporters would appear on local television spouting his belief and emphasising his political victories. He remained in office until 1988, when he was defeated in the first election after the military government was no longer in control. After the election loss, he quickly left the town behind. It is not known where he has gone, but the dissertation even speculates he likely fled to stay alive. Well, let's look up Sonia Suarez as well. Oh, okay. A news anchor in Brazil named Flavio Soares, who has a mother named... Okay, I'm sensing that this could be an affair. Flavio Soares is a young Brazilian newscaster with a bit of a cult following. The discourse surrounding him is, to put it in polite terms, lewd. There's a website about something called fanfiction that has a small section dedicated to him. It seems that women and some men of a wide variety of ages and writing skill tend to find him worthy of inclusion in their stories. You skim some of the tales there and learn that a common thread is that he's currently dating a supermodel named Ashley York. Many stories either seem to ignore her existence or get her out of the picture rather quickly. There are also other more traditional fan sites that list some things about him, including his age, 18. So does that mean that he was born in 81? Bearing in mind it's 1999 now. His zodiac sign, his favourite food, and his mother's name's Sonia. Also, it seems that Flavio translates to golden-haired. Okay, one website with a signed publicity photo of Flavio seems to confirm this. The photo has been added to evidence. Okay, well, let's look up Ashley York as well. British supermodel who does ads for perfume, clothing and jewellery. She's been the subject of some controversy in the past few months, having been protested by PETA for wearing fur on the cover of some magazines. She's dating a young Brazilian news anchor named Flavio, which we know... Okay, I wonder if it's worth searching for her in one of our periodicals. Like maybe... Teen Blast? Ah. Didn't get any printouts. Doesn't lead to any useful info. Another more recent appearance in text only mentions she's dating Flavio. In it, a Teen Blast reporter asks how they met. I was in Rio for Carnival, and he was on one of the parade floats. I had no idea who he was, but I liked what I saw and told my people to invite him to the party I was going to. I felt pretty stupid once I realised that we were going to his party. Well, his mother's party. She runs a media empire down there called Transmissão Paulo. Okay, I'm going to copy that. For now, I just want to have a quick look at, say, Starlet. Any of these. Did it say she was British? I mean, I probably won't get anything in any of these, but you never know. Okay, let's spider search for this. A massive media group owned and run by a mysterious woman named Sonia Alves. It seems Sonia Alves is a common name in Brazil, so she shortened her name to Nia to stand out in the public's eye. According to a history page that's focused on her company and vague, unsearchable details, Nia received a significant inheritance in 1980 and invested it in many different, or hush money perhaps, invested in Brazil. At the same time, she'd just begun to learn the ins and outs of running a TV network. Continued to work in television until 1988, when Brazil began its period of reform. La, 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 la. She ran many forms of media in Brazil under this umbrella. An article about the struggles of American media companies to do business with their foreign counterparts due to a difference in law. A few media groups and countries are discussed, including those in Africa and the Middle East. Okay, however, I'm going to speculate here that she's one of these. And I'm thinking it's this one. Now, let's just have a quick look at the thing that's come up. Okay, so this is Flavio to Natasha. Kisses from Brazil, Flavio. So he's 18, which puts his conception sometime around 89, 90, I think. Let me just cross-reference with Guy Hudson's business trips around that time. I mean, around then he was doing this flavour development. Yeah, 79, and he went to Brazil in 79, so I think that tracks in terms of dates. So I think this is Flavio. And he's Suarez, isn't he? And he is... he's a news anchor, isn't he? So what would that come under? Happy with that. I think this is going to be Sonia. And I think this is... thingy Suarez. I can't remember his name, but I think her maiden name is Alves. I think she went back to that. And she seems to be a media mogul, which also exists here. I'd have to go back and look at his entry to remember his name. Edson. Now, obviously, we don't have pictures of these guys yet. How might I get those? Yeah, there's an old page. Okay. So he doesn't have a partner listed, so I don't think that Ashley York is necessary. So we've got... What was that factory? Maybe there was like a factory opening or something. Let's look this up. Incendio de Bordeaux. Maple fire. In 82, the factory was deliberately attacked in a case of clear arson. The fire was brought under control after destroying about 2/3 of the production floor, and locals claimed that the air smelled like a mix of burning plastic and maple syrup. At the time, it was unknown why this happened, but last year a news special did list this incident, as well as a few others in the small town, as backlash to perceived corruption in the government at the time. According to the report, the mayor of the city was found to be receiving a cut of the factory's profits. Okay. Ah. Same page, isn't it? Okay. Edson. Is Jeremy Johnston the maker of the game? There's a little bit of an Easter egg there, I think. Okay, fine. Let's look up Edson again. Is there anything on his page? So, did I look him up in the periodicals? Because if he was like in manufacturing, he might be in something like this. I feel there's something I'm not getting here. How is she a media mogul and I can't get a record of her? Likewise Edson. There is a Nia. I'll stick with Sonia for now. I mean, I could put Nia in, I suppose. Herm. All right, tell you what. Let's go to Roottree, France. Was a non-starter. Negotiations broke down pretty late in the process after the company had already been formed, and then the leadership went through a very large change soon after. Meant to be Tristan Robert. As a businessman who at one time was in negotiations to take over Roottreemania, France. He's still alive, and you come across an interview unrelated to Roottreemania from a few months ago. It seems that other countries have not been immune to Roottreemania, as you recognise the word Roottree in one of the questions. It seems the interviewer snuck in a question about his experience with the company at the end of the 70s. The article is in French and takes some time to translate section by section. He mentions Guy by first name only, and the tale he tells is quite ugly. The translation is as follows. Guy, the president of Roottree, was one of the worst men I have ever met. He approached my wife about having an affair, which she refused. He then kept insisting this was the best way to celebrate the end of our business contract. I don't think he expected her to say no, and I don't think he thought she would tell me what happened. I punched him in the face and refused to attend another meeting with this man. They lost a lot of money on this deal because not only was he a terrible person, but he was also a terrible businessman. When he died, shortly after, it felt like the universe was working things out. I wasn't surprised to learn he had a secret child. He seemed to treat women like collectible pocket monsters. Sidetracks the question and something. Yeah, okay, so that... Roottree, France is a bit of a dead end as far as affairs goes. But what else do we have? Roottree... I can't remember the other countries. Where do we go? We've got Roottree Oz and China Roottree. Let's do Roottree Oz first. Australia is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottree candy. Blah, blah, blah. According to a history website for it, Charles Martin, who owned a company that manufactured licorice in Australia, was tapped to run the factory after he impressed the American leadership at the time. They did have some success, but only in certain regions. The manufacturing leg of the company shuttered in '92 after the death of Martin, and it now serves as an important distributor. Okay, well, let's quickly look him up. La 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 la. In 1979, he helped develop Roottree Australia, used his own wealth to build a new factory, and distributed the maple treats through the same methods he had already been using for his previous venture. Had a very unusual business agreement with the main Roottree company in the US. Much like how the Clanstead Trust distributed the profits from the company evenly to the family, the profits of the Australian Roottree branch would be split 50-50 between the American Roottree company and Martin himself. This made Martin very, very wealthy, but also led to many cost-cutting measures meant to increase profits as much as possible, especially towards the end of his life in the early 90s. Gained a poor reputation in Australia. Passed along to his daughter, Robin Martin. Okay, well, we'll quickly look her up. Has no husband. Oh. You know, I don't think the timeline fits. Like, I think we've got the 70s one. 79, 81. I think this is 77, 78. Or this is 77, 78, 79, sort of 80-ish. This is more sort of early 80s, I think. So I'm not sure if any of these are going to pan out for that. But we'll check China Roottree. Oh. During the late 70s, Lang Hongbo, who was said to personally win over the Roottree family and was owner of multiple textiles factories, did not wish to import the ingredients and build a special factory to manufacture the candy in China. So instead they made a deal to import bulk unpackaged candy and label it for not only China but additional markets. Hongbo was already in his mid-50s when the deal happened, only had daughters, and his brother Lang Hongyu took control upon his death. After Hongyu died in '92, it passed to the oldest child from the next generation, Lang Qinyu. Let's look up Hongbo. Oh, here we go. Lang Xinyu, in China the family name comes first, so Lang is her last name, is a businesswoman currently running the Lang Tai textile company. She was recently listed in an article on a website written by and for women. The article, titled Empowered, is about the recent rise of women entrepreneurs in China. The article states that due to a lack of brothers, she took over as CEO in 92 after her elderly uncle was deemed unfit to run the company. Controversial move. Company's been performing well. Now it's added to evidence which suggests it's relevant. Let's quickly look her up in periodicals. Oh. Maybe that's not relevant. I mean, if she, I knew there was a 40s one, but that was Miracles, so. I don't... Let's have a look at her. I don't think this is relevant. Interesting. What else do we have on the tree? Could it go down into this, potentially? I'm not sure how. So the child of Elias got married and then adopted here. And they had a child. Oh, God. Bending my brain. I'm going to ignore that for now. I think that's probably a lot to come from that. Okay, let's try and get this Brazilian stuff done. I'm wondering if there was like a factory opening picture or something. Okay, well, the other... let's park that for now. So the other thing I kind of got a sense of was that we need to re-look up Lauren Roottree's original book, and apparently there might be stuff in there now that has more of a bearing on what we're doing. I'll have to spider search her. I can't remember what her book was called. A Life in Between Wars, that's the one. Okay, cruelty, is that different? When revisiting Lauren's book, there's a single passage that focuses on potential affairs in her immediate family. We've added to our evidence. Okay, so let's look at this now. An entry entitled Cruelty from Lauren Roottree's diary, written in '63. It focuses on the relationship between her mother and father. While it offered only redundant information during a previous investigation, it mentions the subject of affairs and may be more useful this time around. I am no stranger to true love. Jacob and I married at an age that most deem unfit for marriage, but he was also enlisting at an age that most deem unfit for war. We had no choice. I knew in my heart that our marriage was one for the ages. He and I would still be together today if not for Okinawa. That was nearly 20 years ago, but there is an emptiness in my soul. I do not understand my contemporaries. So many girls I went to school with have taken multiple lovers. So many of my girlfriends' husbands have been unfaithful. If I am to remain true to the ghost of a man, with no chance of physical reciprocation, no potential for long conversation, how could it be so hard to love someone you can reach out and touch, someone you can joke with? I have not had to deal with such madness at home. My parents are a perfect match in the worst way. My mother's cruelty is a perfect fit for my father's general spite. In turn, Pop's status enables her incessant need to gloat and feel superior. I have grown up with her cruelty and disdain for others my entire life. Even my family remains unspared. They make fun of my grandpop and his family, sayings, "Blood is thicker than syrup, but nothing's thicker than Elias." They mimic Grandma and Gwyneth's lisp and see her kindness as a weakness. Eliath, Eliath, please remember Tham. Not even our family's maladies and religion go unmocked. Remember, God only put one eye in miracle. I can say without a doubt in my mind that my parents have never had eyes for anyone outside their marriage. They're too self-centered to look astray. Now, the thing that immediately leaps to my mind reading this is that we heard the name Beth. Whereas, if she had a lisp, that could easily have sounded like... It could have been Bess that sounded like Beth, couldn't it? Do I have a Bess here? Okay, I'm going to get rid of Nox. Okay, that's put me further back than I was before. Is there anything back in these files from earlier days that might relate to a Bess? Okay. I'm not sure what to do with that info. Jeez, okay. Or Bess could have been... God, I don't know. Because, okay, so in 1921, she'd have been in her 30s. I'm thinking that the Bess is Bess Williams. Like, if she was writing propaganda about Elias, I mean, it kind of makes sense. She was close to him, or felt close to him. Let's just look this up. Oh, hello. Find multiple libraries in the area. According to the website for the library system in Miami, the building where it once sat is now the Miami Print Museum. Come across their website, states their hours, la 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 la. One of the exhibits in their courtyard includes a fountain, as well as a statue of unknown author. The picture has been added to your evidence. Another is a printing press that was used by the Miami Sunday, now a defunct weekly newspaper. The last is the original print of Cuba by Cubans, an art book. Ah, the Miami Sunday. Okay, so that's we can add that to our periodicals, I would think. So let's just copy that, and I'm going to go to periodicals, and we'll do that, and then we'll put in Bess Williams. Oh. Ah. I'll tell you what, let's spider search for that. Hopefully it adds it to the periodicals. There's no records. Oh, it's become the Miami Mercury Sunday, which folded. Ah. Yeah, well, it doesn't seem to be in existence. Doesn't seem related anyway, but let's still look her up anyway. Okay, well. So what do we got? Okay, so this... Can we think that this is Bess Williams? You know, I'm gonna put this in. I'm gonna put it in. And she was an author. Oh, hello. What have we got? Great. Well, I kind of knew those were correct, and we obviously knew about Elias as well. Locked in a couple of optionals, including... Okay.
Sam reached out to me finally. I think I have you to thank for that one. My family's in a bit of a rough patch. Even though the candy is selling better than ever, everyone is fighting over the trust. The majority of us want to dissolve it. On paper, it seems like the right decision. The arguments about what to do next are endless and heated. More than a few Roottrees are worried about losing their wealth. I don't think we deserve it more than anyone else. I love my family, my wife, my daughters, even my son, who I hardly ever get to see. I want to keep them safe and secure, but I didn't do anything to deserve this fortune. Hell, I probably deserve it less than most. It took me way too long to get my life together. Okay, enough about me. Here's the deal. I can't stop the majority from voting one way or another. If you keep passing along potential Roottrees, I'll keep adding them to the list. On the other hand, there's been some leaps forward in genetics. It may sound like science fiction, but we can actually determine who's in the family just by testing their DNA. What you've done so far has been very useful. Just keep filling out the tree and we'll prepare for the tests.
Okay, no further evidence from Carl. Well, that wasn't Carl. Clark, unfortunately. Now this could potentially be something. The fact that it's brought up here makes me wonder if I should be using this. Let's look up this guy again. I do remember him from the previous campaign. Just mentioned Brian Jones's company website. I can't remember if I've seen that. So let's spider search this and see if anything updated comes up. Hello. Chris Rafferty's Prodigy site seems to have been discovered by the masses. Gone are the art pictures of his cousins. Instead, it's a list of questions that people kept emailing him. The most relevant ones are the following. Are you the son of Clark Rafferty? Yes, but I didn't grow up with him. Let's just have to remind ourselves who this guy is. So, this is this guy. He's actually... okay. There were some photos I didn't get. Unless they've been added specifically for this. Which they might have been. Anywho. I moved back away with my mum when I was very young. We left Pennsylvania and moved back home to Virginia. We lived there with Pete, my stepdad. My dad and I spoke a few times when I found his phone number on a check he sent us in the mail when I was 15. He was happy to hear from me, and now he calls me once a month and came to visit me at college. He tells me about things I don't remember and people like Guy Hudson and Ernie Madsen. My dad and I get along, but obviously we aren't very close. Did you ever meet the Rootrees? I used to know the Rootrees, but never the sisters. I was in the office sometimes when I was a kid, and I definitely met Guy Hudson before he died, but I don't remember. My memory is weird. It's hard to know what I actually remember, and what I only think I do because I have pictures. For example, I have a photo from when I was 5, and in the office with my dad, and Guy was there. I made myself sick by eating chocolate, and some woman I don't know cleaned my face. I don't know if my memories of that come from the picture or not. Okay, we've got that in evidence now. How did you have proof of Ernie Madsen's heart condition? I know Ernie had a heart problem because my dad told me on one of our phone calls. I asked him about the poison because I saw it on the Roottrie Curse website. Could be worth looking at that again and see if it's been updated. And he emailed some old stuff, including the proof, but even with the proof, the website didn't take it down. You spelled fiancé wrong. I'm not good at spelling or writing. I'm good at painting and other art. I'm going to school to learn how to edit movies. I want to make cartoons someday. Lulu is much better at spelling. So let's re-examine the Roottrie Curse page. During your initial search, you came across Thomas Overwood's conspiracy page about the Rootrees. 8 months later, the page still exists and is thriving. The visitor counter has reached 7 digits. Many older articles have been replaced. It seems that the recent uprising in Roottree news has left Thomas Overwood with a constant stream of events to base new theories on. More than one of his theories involve Roottree deaths being faked. According to Overwood, statistically, when you have this many high-profile people who have died in a family, the odds are that one of them faked their death. It's just math. Okay, I'm not sure that tracks. This newfound focus on death faking seems to coincide with a post mentioning that he's begun believing the guy's not dead theory. In his own words, my eyes have been opened, and all of this is beginning to make too much sense. We'll have a look at that in a sec. One of his posts details the belief that Ron Roottree is still in charge. Gwyn Roottree's death was faked, and that Clark is only there to throw people off. Apparently this allowed Ron to travel to France to develop their new candy recipe secret. It could be worth looking into Ron again. I think we did right at the beginning. Rapper 5Ps. When he's performing under the devil name. Actually, yeah. Not even Sam Madsen is spared. According to Overwood, the author of 6 Pieces isn't real. Sam Madsen is an anagram for Am Madness. They're purposefully leaving hints for us. He claims that by using 6 Pieces with Lauren's book as a one-time pad, he's begun to decrypt a cipher. Most of the cipher seemed meaningless, but he managed to pick out the words people and vastness and is working on figuring out what it means. There's also a request at the bottom. The next year is a leap year, and Overwood is looking for funds and volunteers to catch the Rootrees red-handed in Operation RT29. He specifically mentions not to volunteer if you've ever drunk Spirit Cola, but doesn't go into why. I think Spirit Cola was mentioned in the previous one. It was something to do. I can't remember now. It was something weird. Okay, I didn't. Okay, this is an older article, but I didn't see this first time. Claimed that the Rootrees are changing the candy recipe to include more and more chemicals. Very strange. Not really relevant, I don't think. However, what's Guy's Not Dead? Ooh. The Guy's Not Dead conspiracy stems from a website that focuses on clues that the Rootrees have supposedly hid all over the place. This includes on candy wrappers, in print adverts, in television commercials, jingles, etc. The story, according to the website, is that Guy Hudson was a terrible president and introduced multiple failed products. Something needed to be done that would put the company immediately and instantly back in favour of the consumers, so they killed off Guy and replaced him with a new president. This move immediately garnered sympathy and the company recovered the next year, more popular than ever. The next president stayed much further out of the limelight, and some people even theorised that he was simply Guy Hudson in an elaborate disguise, which is why he stopped appearing in public. The people who run the site are asking for help. They're certain there's a clue to all of this that accidentally leaked in a banned article from the magazine Picotee. On their page is a scan of the magazine's cover, the interview with Cicely Sanchez about Guy Hudson and some photos. Ooh, hello. Right, okay, so first of all, God, there's so much. Ooh, I don't know where to start. Let's start here. This photo is the first from a magazine interview with Cicely Sanchez in Picotee. The issue of Picotee magazine that it came from was pulled from the shelves, but you managed to find it online. Picotee does not label its individual photos. Both were instead under a shared label. Cicely was provided these photos by the Roottrie company for use in her book. In the background of the photo, there is a Christmas tree. Okay, so we have some faces to gather here. I mean, there's obviously Guy, this couple, and I'm guessing this lady in the background as well. Now, the Christmas tree obviously places this at one of their Christmas parties. I guess it's up to us to kind of work out which one that would have been, and then we can kind of date this photo. But that's cool. Not quite sure how she ties into it, but she's got a little tattoo on her wrist. Could that be Caroline? I don't know. Where's Caroline? No, I don't think it's her. Alright, well, we've got a new photo of Guy anyway. I mean, that could be the Brazilian couple, because the husband does have a slot for a photo. Think about that. We've also got this one. So this is same text, but that's obviously Zach. Obviously Guy. And a lady in the background. So this, I mean, just because Zach's there, this would have been around the time of their handover, which I think was the early 70s. So this... that's probably Christine. I feel quite comfortable putting that in there for now. So that would have been around the time that they were transitioning from Zach to Guy. Now, I'm guessing another slot has opened up for a Zach photo. Yeah. So let's pop him in there. Okay, we're making some headway now. Okay, that's cool. Right. Okay, so yes, this is cool. So we've got obviously Guy. I'm guessing that could be Clark. And there was someone there. Now this looks like he's all in green. Oh, here we go. It was in Chris Rafferty's website. Yes, that's Chris Rafferty. According to it, it's a father of him, his father, Guy. And then there's a woman who wiped food off his face. So, first things first. So we got another picture of Clark, I guess. So that's Chris. Yeah, so these little boxes have been added in here. And that's our last Guy photo as well. So... let's see. So what did he say? So when was Chris Rafferty born? 75. So if we say he was born in 75, because that, you know, that you would expect someone to have their birth year on their like email address, wouldn't you? So that does tie in with potentially this around, because I think he said he was. What did he say? He age-wise he was. Forget where his evidence is now. Oh, was it on the? Might have been on the computer. So 5. So we're looking around 1980. So that, yeah, no, 79, early 80. That could tie there. So I'm going to pop this lady in here. We still don't really know who she is, but I have a suspicion, because if I check my notes again, so I think it's either Lisa Lewis or Valerie Ewing, and the affair 79. So that would be about right as well. Now, if I go back to the files, was there... So if we go to 79, was there a party for... Could have been 80. I was looking for like a St. Patrick's Day thing, because he was wearing all green. I mean, it's a bit tenuous. He might just have worn green, I guess. Anyway. Whoever this was, both of the names I have, they were secretaries. So... that kind of works. And given that of the remaining ones, the only one that are a couple that both have photos are the Brazilian couple. So of the other photos I've got this lady. So she was at this party. Now it's possible that she would have been in that photo too. Don't know. I'll leave it there for now. I think these are right. She might be. She might be Sonia Alves. She might be Nia Soares. No, she won't be Soares because that was her married name. So I think that's right. I think this one's right. We still have some evidence. So we've got... Is it just this one now? Okay, so this is the Cicely Sanchez interview. You claim to have been paid a significant amount to write a book about one of the Rootrees, Guy Hudson. He was president for a short period at the end of the 70s, right? Yes, I met him on... Oh, that could be Cicely. I met him on New Year's Eve, actually, the last night of 78. Guy liked to throw big parties, because I speculated that Cicely Sanchez was one of his ladies. This could easily be Cicely. 78, though. Let's keep reading. I was just coming off of Changed Man and looking for my next project. When his wife learned who I was, she invited me to the party and they cornered me to talk about a book. That was the first time anyone recognized me from my work. I'd finally made it. The book they asked me to write sounded great, but then none of the stuff that made him interesting was allowed to stay. Chop, chop, snip, snip. Anything with even the slightest threat to Guy's image ended up gonzo. What was the stuff that made him interesting? At his core, Guy was not complicated. In fact, I think I could boil him down to two traits. First, he wanted to be seen as the second coming of the great Elias Roottree. And second, he'd never be satisfied living the life needed to be seen that way. He had his fortune and good looks, and he really liked to exploit that to pick up women. But he couldn't let anyone else know, so it cost him a lot to cover it up. That was the only interesting aspect of Guy. He was James Bond trying to convince people he was Mr. Rogers, I guess. Mr. Rogers, really? Maybe that's not the best metaphor, but Elias Roottree was boring as all hell and all about family. Guy did everything he could to be seen that way. After I submitted my first draft, he sent me this garbage book, The Roottree Legacy, with Elias on the cover. The last time he and I met, he had even switched out his orange suits for the same green ones Elias wore. Okay, so it wasn't St. Patrick's Day. The last time he and I met, so that does suggest that the lady in this photo is Cicely, because that's the one that Guy is wearing a green suit in. So what is she? I'm not quite sure. I can't make that timeline work, but okay. And remember fancy flavours? Guy knew that part of Elias's legacy was the 5-piece flavours. That's what Guy tried to do too. Caviar was a disaster here, but it was actually somewhat popular in Brazil for whatever reason. In Christmas 1979, he went to Brazil to open the Roottree Brazil factory. Guy was always hopping around the world trying to recreate that success. Yeah, so Christmas 79. I do think this is Christmas 79. So she could have been the year before. I mean, that's not necessarily Cicely, to be fair, but... I don't think that's anyone then. I mean, there's obviously someone, but I don't know. Someone else, maybe. How come the book never came out? It's complicated. I had an out on my contract. Surprisingly, Guy signed the contract my lawyers wrote without running it by anybody in his legal department. I could pull my name off the book at any time, but Guy still got the content. After I left, it probably got a lot harder to convince any real publisher to give it their time. So she does mention this book. I'll come back. Actually, we can probably search for it now. Oh, that's by Bess Williams. Yeah, so we have seen that. Okay. Then we got this one. He was the president, right? Do you know why he never released it himself? If I had to guess, his family very wisely put a stop to it. In mid-81, months after I'd already moved on, he called me back and showed me a final draft. Do you know how expensive it is to publish one copy of a book? It had my name on it in big shiny embossed letters. Like all problems in his life, throwing money at me was his attempt to win me back. But it had half the page count and the narrative was torn to bits. No thanks. The dinner was good, imported steak that likely cost as much as a month of my mortgage. And we all got pretty drunk. He sent his mistress, Susie something, into the bathroom to proposition me. Poor girl. I remembered her from our trips overseas. She was too good for him. Anyway, he died soon after and that was the last that ever came up. So maybe this is her. Probably Susan then. So okay, so we know that she went overseas. We know that she was... If he died soon after, that was probably his last affair. Still think everything else works. I'm not sure if that is Cicely. I think it might be, but I don't know. I'm inferring a lot from the fact that he's wearing a green suit, so... I do think that this is... 79, this is probably... Thing is, this is Christmas 79. This could be earlier 79, I suppose. What can you tell us about the family? Any insight into the scandals? I haven't actually read it. I just skimmed the section on Guy to see why people were suddenly calling me up to ask about the man. I'd say she did well for what she had to work with. She only had rumours, whereas I spent my time tailing him. Sometimes he knew, sometimes he didn't. He invited me to join them when dealing with Roottree Brazil, but I actually had people on him when he went to Australia, France and China too. When he met with someone, I'd figure out who they were and how they were involved. Doubly so if the meeting happened when he didn't want me to be around. Despite his best efforts, I got the whole truth, including things even his family never knew. For example, the daughter of his business partner in Australia, I think her name was Robin. Okay, we've seen about Robin. He and she definitely spent a few nights together that he didn't want his family to know about. But I did. She's the one who had surgery so that she couldn't have children? So I don't know where that goes yet. Madsen got things wrong? Sam mentions Guy's affairs and treats them like most people would logically think to treat them, like the infidelity was a problem for Patricia. When his wife first approached me, though, it wasn't to talk, if you get my meaning. On paper and in public it was a marriage like any other, but in reality it was more of a mutually beneficial arrangement. They both got what they wanted out of it, the same thing. What was that? I'm assuming I only have to spell it out so you can get it in writing for your readers. Women. Patricia enjoyed the company of women, and the swinger scene made that more accessible. I told her I wasn't interested in her and Guy. Okay, so I don't think Cicely is one of his partners. I found out later that if I'd said yes, her next question would have been whether or not her husband actually had to be there too. Guy, on the other hand, was seen in a traditional marriage, and at the same time could bed any women that found him charming. I can assure you that was exactly the type of marriage he was interested in. So now the Robin thing is interesting. Well, I might leave it there for today. I think we've made pretty good progress this time. I'm pretty sure Christine's going to get locked in. I feel good about Nia Alves, even though I might need to change her name around a little bit, potentially. I think the photos are right here. I don't know who this is, though. Have we got anything going on anywhere else? Probably not right now. I'm thinking this might go down into, like the she might be there. I'm not sure, but I'll pop it there for now. But yeah, so we got some stuff locked in. I think we're making progress with Guy's tree. I'm not quite sure how to delve further into Christine, but there's a lot to sort of filter in this stuff, so I might end up in my own time just kind of going back over it and see if anything else kind of makes sense to me, particularly that the Piketty interview now. I'm going to try and match up the dates because I think they play a big... Like, we know this one's right. That's about 74, 75. I'm pretty sure this is around 77, 78. This is probably around 78, 79. Christmas 79, and then towards, like, just before he died. But I just want to kind of go and check the timelines that we know about, like from the employee files and stuff. So I'll do that probably in my own time before the next one. But thanks very much for watching anyway. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, if you could hit that like button, that'd be fantastic. Do leave a comment as well. Let me know what you think of our progress so far. And if you're watching this without having already subscribed to the channel, if you could do that as well, that'd be fantastic. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.